Today, Elgato released a much needed update to their 4K60 Pro. The original one was launched about a year and a half ago. This new version has some updated features, a redesigned body, and a very nice updated price. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare it to its main competition, the AVerMedia Live Gamer 4K. Both of these PCIe capture cards, both of these capable of 4K60 and 1440p 144Hz and 1080p 240Hz, not only just in pass-through, but also in capturing. We're gonna take a look at the setup, we're gonna take a look at the features, we're gonna take a look at the image quality, and determine at the end of this which one is on top. It better be this one. This one's like a year old. We'll find out, but first, we're gonna do some unboxing, and we're gonna unbox these in the way they were meant to be unboxed, in ASMR. Take a look at this nice packaging. Let's pull on this tab and open it up. Oops. Oh yeah. All the packaging is falling out of the box. But this is a beautiful looking capture card. Oh. Do you hear that crinkle? This is really interesting. Box shows a buy 1 PCIe, but the card is actually a buy 4 PCIe. I'm gonna text them real quick and see what that's about. It looks like it was a printing mistake on the early packaging they sent me. It should be fixed on your version. Hear that metal enclosure? Oh, that's nice. The backside no longer has a metal cover, which should be better for thermals. If you compare it to the original, you can see there's a massive size difference. In fact, the new one is so much smaller. It comes with a low profile plate to fit into thinner PCs. Wow. 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 Let's move on to the AVerMedia. That one was a little bit harder to open. The box is so shiny though. That doesn't really have any bearing on the card itself. I just wanted you to know. I can't seem to get this out of the box. The struggle is real. That seemed like a packaging design flaw. Oh, some nice packing foam. Keeping my product safe. This one's taped shut. Not a fan. Oh, still a nice feeling card. I like the triangle cutouts on the housing. You can see the RGB LEDs inside. That's gonna make this logo look nice. There's an HDMI cable in here. I didn't check to see if the Elgato had one. Let's backtrack a moment. It looks like it does. Which one has a nicer sound? Vote down in the comments below. Let's get to plugging these in and take a closer look. It's important that you know that the focus of this video, as well as really any product video on this channel, is going to entirely be about helping you create content and less about the nitty-gritty color gamuts, compression codecs, whatever, because the whole reason you bought this card is probably to create content. Does your color gamut and encoder compression help you get subscribers and viewers? No, it doesn't matter how good your content looks. If it's boring, nobody's gonna watch it. This video is gonna be about actually using these devices, the features that will actually help you create your content, and really whether or not high-end 4K capture cards will be a benefit to your setup. And look, if you do want deep dives into the hardware and the colors and all the little details of the card, which are not bad things to know, I would probably recommend the channel Apos Vox. He is way more nitpicky about those little things than I am. He has a lot of great information on that kind of stuff on not only capture cards, but other devices too. I'll go ahead and link to his channel down in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump into the actual functionality of these devices. Also, disclosure, while I did purchase my original 4K60 Pro myself, both the Mark II as well as the AVerMedia cards were sent to me by these manufacturers. Neither of them are paying me, neither of them have asked me to create certain content, and neither of them are being able to approve this video before it goes live. Just want to throw that out there. Also, I do stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, twitch.tv/Harris Heller, link in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed that ASMR unboxing, make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment if you want to see that on future videos. I'm gonna be honest, regardless of what you guys say in the comments, we're gonna do it again anyway. That was like my favorite thing I've ever done on this channel. Why does anyone unbox in anything other than ASMR? I have no idea anymore. Cool, let's dive into it. 4K capture cards have actually been around for a couple years now. Elgato and AVerMedia are definitely at the forefront of consumer-friendly 4K capture cards. The original 4K60 Pro came out at the end of 2017, almost 2 years ago. It was $400, and it was the first consumer gaming capture card that could capture in 4K 60 frames per second, or 1440p 144 frames per second, or 1080p 240 frames per second. I know $400 sounds like an absurd amount right now, but at the time, the closest competitor, the only other 4K capture card, cost like $900. So it was mind-blowing. A couple months later, AVerMedia released their Live Gamer 4K at $300 with all the features that the Elgato 4K60 Pro had, plus HDR recording. You got that slick 10-bit colors, those deep blacks, those vibrant lights, if you were gaming in HDR, of course. Plus, AVerMedia's software actually allowed you to record at those higher frame rates, like 144 frames per second or 240 frames per second, where Elgato's, at least in their own software, they capped you at 60 FPS for the actual recording itself. Fast forward a little over a year to today, and Elgato releases their new, smaller 4K60 Pro Mark II with added HDR capabilities, a couple other features I'm gonna mention later, and a new price of $250. That's probably one of the best features out of all this. Now, I've been using the original 4K60 Pro for a while now, so I plugged both of these in and used them on my stream last night, and learned a lot about them. So let's talk about my experience using both of these capture cards, and then I will let you know which card I'm gonna be using from now on. Plugging both of these into the PC, the very first thing I noticed was that the 4K60 Pro was plug and play. Before I plugged either of them in, I deleted all of Elgato's software, the 4K utility capture, the game capture HD, to make sure that it was just the card in and of itself, and OBS recognized it and could run with it, and sure, it was a little bit limited to what it could do, but it was ready to go. The AVerMedia, on the other hand, gave me a flashing red LED light, which, by the way, I love that feature. The LED indicator on the card itself, fantastic. I was a little bummed that Elgato actually took out the LED on their capture card on this new model. But basically the card was trying to tell me, hey, something's wrong. I had to go in and download the software for it first, which, by the way, was a nightmare. AVerMedia's website in general is just a little bit of a headache to get around. When trying to find the software for this device, I went to the Live Gamer 4K's actual page on their site and read through the entire thing until I found where it said, hey, here's the link for the utility. Click here, and when I clicked there, it didn't take me to the utility. Instead, it just took me to a generic software download page on their site. I had to enter in my product, including the actual product number, which I defined from the instruction booklet, and then it gave me a whole list of compatible softwares. It didn't really tell me which ones I needed, so I downloaded a bunch of them, and I still don't know which one was necessary and which ones weren't. So if you're wondering that too, I can't really help you out there. Just I guess download them all. You're about to notice a little bit of a theme around this card. By the way, the card itself is actually a great piece of hardware. The software that AVerMedia releases, not so much. I mean, even after installing the app itself, it looks like out-of-date software. It took me forever to find the setting where I could change the encoder from HEVC to H.264, which I needed to do in order to play the files on my Mac. It was in a completely different place than all the other settings. Nothing really makes sense. None of that's really like a deal breaker though. As long as the card is good, this software thing is just kind of a one-time setup. It's annoying, you figure it out, and then it works great the rest of the time. However, there was a serious game breaker for me. Even though I had the card itself set to 1440p, and in OBS it was set to 1440p, and on my gaming PC it was set as a monitor to 1440p, the moment I went into a game and played it full screen, it gave me serious resolution issues. My cursor would be extra large with super high sensitivity, and if I alt-tabbed back out of the game, you could see all the apps I was running in the background totally screwed up. It's a really weird screen resolution compatibility issue, and I actually had the same issue with my original 4K60 Pro from Elgato until I learned that in Elgato's 4K capture utility software, you can go in and change what's called the EDID to an individual resolution. And just so you understand what this means, this isn't the resolution that the card is recording to. Your gaming PC sees this card as a monitor, and changing the EDID changes the actual internal card resolution that the gaming PC sees. My gaming PC, even though it was sending out a 1440p signal to this card, it still saw the AVerMedia card as a 4K monitor. And I looked for forever and I found no way to change it to a 1440p monitor. The setting to change that EDID might be in there. I couldn't find it. And until AVerMedia reached out and it says, oh, by the way, here's how you do it, or we added it in an update to the software, the card is almost useless to me. In order for me to get the game to work, I had to run in windowed mode, borderless, and I was running about half the frames I normally do. So there's my answer for that one. To give AVerMedia some credit where credit is due, the recording aspect of it was actually really great. The recordings were generally very smooth, even at super high frame rates. It was all around a pretty good experience as long as you're not trying to mirror monitors in 1440p. Now the new Elgato 4K60 Pro Mark II, it being a newer card, they've added a ton of really cool features to it that I'm a big fan of. Let's talk about my favorite new feature, I guess combination of a couple features that turn it into a very useful device. The first feature is called multi-feed. Now with the previous two cards, the original 4K60 Pro by Elgato and the Live Gamer 4K by AVerMedia, if you launch the capture card in an app, like let's say OBS, and then you tried to launch their native apps also, they would give you either no signal or some kind of error saying, sorry, the capture card's being used by a different app. You can't use it in this one. They can only be used by a singular app. Not with the 4K60 Pro Mark II. They added the capability to have it be used by multiple different apps at the same time. So now you can be streaming in 1080p to your choice streaming platform, while at the same time be capturing your gameplay in full 1440p. This is amazing for people who want to make gameplay YouTube videos and they don't want to be ripping those highly compressed VODs from Twitch's site. You get that raw, uncompressed quality of your original gameplay. Then with that raw gameplay, you can go back in and add your overlay back to it, add your camera back into it, as long as you're recording your camera separately as well. And you have so much control and quality over your content that you want to upload later. Combine that with Elgato's flashback recording feature. Basically what that means is you do an amazing play, you have an amazing game, you hit a little button on your Stream Deck and you retroactively record your previous half hour. You can actually set up multiple buttons on your Stream Deck, one for recording the past 30 minutes, one for recording the last 30 seconds, one for recording the last 15 seconds, whatever duration you want, but it records your previous time. So you don't have to be recording your entire stream and then filter through 6 hours of footage to find the play that you wanted. You can just get little snippets right after they happen. If I ever want to make a video on my personal channel where I want to add in some gameplay footage, this is exactly what I'll be doing. I'll be grabbing flashback recordings of awesome moments, whether they're 30 minutes or 30 seconds. I'll be making sure my camera is recording to an internal SD card, and then I'll be able to later composite them together in post, make it look like a stream, but in 1440p, full resolution, no compression like you get on Twitch. Elgato's combination of capture hardware, software, and really cool tools like the Stream Deck are kind of the things that have cemented themselves as the superior option in terms of recording your gameplay. However, I did run into some weird issues with this card. The first one I noticed is that when I was doing these flashback recordings, it was giving me serious lags and skips, even when I turned the bandwidth really low. Some recordings would be perfectly smooth, some of them would be almost unwatchable. I thought at first that it was just my PC struggling, but when I plugged back in my original capture card, I didn't have any of these problems at all. This could be an individual issue with my card, or it could also be like a firmware issue that, you know, they could push an update out to tomorrow. I'm gonna follow up with them. I'll let you know what they say. A larger issue I was having with the card is every once in a while in OBS, it would just switch to 1080p and my gameplay would be shrunken into the corner and I'd have to stretch it back out. And then a couple minutes later, it would expand back out to 1440p and I'd have to shrink it back to the canvas size. This happened multiple times over the couple hours I was using this. I checked whenever it would shrink, the device was still set to 1440p everywhere. My gaming PC still saw it as a 1440p monitor, but for some reason, it would just shrink on the canvas. And when I stretched it back out, there was a noticeable loss in resolution. Again, this is not a problem I was having with my old card, so it's definitely something on the card. It still seems like an individual issue with my card and not an overall problem with their software, for example, but we'll just have to see. But for now, both of these cards kind of have significant deal-breaking issues with them. If AVerMedia gets back to me about the EDID issue, that'd be amazing, although I still wouldn't be able to stream and record with it at the same time, which is kind of a bummer. And if Elgato gets back to me with a fix with their new card, or maybe, I don't know, I guess a replacement if it's actually the card itself, that's definitely the one I'm gonna start using. But for now, I'm gonna be throwing back in my original 4K60 Pro. This thing is just the only one here that's reliable. I'll be updating you guys on how these fixes go with these companies if either of them respond to this. If you want to check in and see if I'm getting fixes to either of these issues, again, I am live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:30 Pacific time. Feel free to pop in and see which card I'm using. We'll just have to see. Also, if you want to talk with other creators about what cards they use, any opinions that maybe might differ from mine, feel free to join the Discord community. We have an amazing, massive community over there of people trying to create content and doing amazing things. And as always, happy streaming.
5 gifted subs for a headshot, dude. 5 gifted subs for a headshot right here. Oh no. Oh. I hate myself right now. I actually hate myself.